Okay, today I am going to be teaching you and explaining about our integers timeline project. This is coming up. It will be due in 3 weeks. What date is it going to be due, class? October the 2nd. Okay, so that is 3 weeks away. Our project that we're going to have for this quarter is going to be a timeline project, and we're going to be using integers to help us with the timeline project. I'm going to show you my example of my timeline, and then I'm going to talk through different points of how to help you be successful on this project. First off, you can see you will always start right in the middle with your birthday. So that's when I was born. We're going to have integers that represent the different events that are on our timeline. Because 0 is like ground zero, kind of where you start, the integer for my birthday and for your birthday is going to be 0, okay? Then you can see there are going to be 3 events that happened before my birthday, and you guys will put before your birthday. This is a -1. What do you think that integer might represent? Okay, you are correct. It's 1 year before my birth. This one is -7. What do you think that represents?
7 years.
7 years before my birthday. How about this one? It's -15.
15 years.
Very good. Okay, so all of these are talking about events that happened before my birthday. So you can see first off, -15. 15 years before my birthday, my dad joined the military. Then you can also see I've put in here what year that happened. It happened in the year 1968. The next event that I have, it's -7. That means 7 years before my birthday. In the year of 1976, my parents got married. Then I drew a little picture, a heart, saying they have great love. Okay? Moving on to the next one. -1, that means 1 year before my birthday. In the year 1982, I wrote down that my parents moved to Germany. Okay? And then that brings you to my birthday. Now, there are some events that happen after my birthday. This first one says 9. What do you guys think that 9 might mean?
9 years after.
I was 9 years old. It happened 9 years after I was born in the year of 1992. I have a picture of a roller skate, and it says, I broke my arm when I was roller skating. Next up, I have 13. That means what, guys?
13 years before.
13 years after I was born, okay? In the year of 1996, I vacationed in Australia. So I used to be a part of a choir called the Portland Symphonic Girl Choir, and we traveled all around the world. When I was 13 years old, I was able to go and visit Australia. Finally, this integer is 14, meaning 14 years after my birthday, in the year of 1997, I transferred to a public school. So this is my timeline. Now I'm going to give you some details about this project that you're going to find in your notes here in just a minute. You will be creating a timeline that use events that happened before and after your birthday. So help me to understand one more time. What integer represents your birthday?
0.
A 0. Now all of these to the left are going to be negative integers because they happened before your birthday. Can someone think of something significant or interesting that happened in your personal family before you were born? I think that's an excellent one. Your grandma came to America. Where did she come from?
Cuba.
From Cuba. Very cool. Okay, so that was 50 years before he was born. That's probably going to be the furthest away thing that we have. So that's represented by -50 because it was 50 years before. Okay. Somebody else had mentioned that your parents got married. Let's say that was about 7 years before. Okay. Then imagine that maybe a sibling was born before you, 2 years before you. What integer would that be? -2. Very good. Now you've got some things that happened after your birthday. Who can give me an example of something interesting that happened in your personal life since you have been born? All right, so your sister had a heart surgery. That's a pretty significant event. All right, so she thinks it was probably about when she was 6, so the integer that would represent is 6. Okay, who else has something else interesting that happened in your timeline or your life? Very good. Okay, so you were about 8 years old when you and your brother started karate. Now I want to ask you this. Let's imagine that you went on vacation when you were 1 year old to Hawaii. Would I put the 1 right here?
No.
Why not?
Because that's out of order.
It's out of order. You got to make sure your timeline is in order. So then I would need to go back and for sure fix this to make sure my timeline is in order. Okay? A few other things. You may only use one event per category. For example, You cannot use that you went on multiple vacations or that you had multiple different broken bones, okay? You don't want to say either, when I was 1, my sister was born. When I was 3, my brother was born. When I was 4, my cousin was born, okay? Why? Because that's not very interesting. On this, we want to find lots of different new and interesting facts about you, so you cannot use multiple things from the same category, just one event per category. These are some kinds of events that you could put on your timeline, okay? Even as we were just talking right there, someone mentioned, started playing a sport, or here you joined some kind of a club. Maybe you played piano, or you started something significant. A sibling was born, or you moved houses. Maybe something interesting happened before you were born or during your lifetime when someone was in a hurricane or a tornado, or maybe a grandfather was in the war. Injuries, broken bones, family vacations, getting a new pet, changing schools. All of these are just some ideas of what you could put in your timeline. Remember, your timeline needs to be about your life, your family. Not something like, oh, I remember 19 years ago, September 11th happened to our country. I want something significant that has happened in your personal family. Next up, how should my timeline look? You're going to use half a piece of poster board, okay? So right here you can see I've got a picture of my timeline. This is what the poster board looked like originally. But look what I did. What did I do to it?
You cut it.
I cut it in half. You only want to do a half of a piece of poster board, not a big monster one. It must be horizontal, okay? So please do not turn in your timeline looking like that. Instead, it needs to be side to side like this, okay? It's going to be horizontal. All your lines need to be straight. So I want you to use a ruler or a yardstick. For creativity, sometimes people have used a ribbon and they glued that ribbon across the top, okay, to make it look nice and neat. It has to be organized, kind of like we just talked about. Your integers cannot be out of order. It's a timeline, so they have to be in order. And then you're going to need to decorate it. And I'll give more examples and show you some examples with stickers and backgrounds and different kinds of things. But you want to make sure this is how your timeline should look. Next up, some people have asked, do I have to turn in anything other than my poster? The answer is yes. Look at this purple paper that I've just handed out to you. You've got the top page. Now I want you to flip to the second page. This one says integer questionnaire. This paper is going to be something that you also need to turn in, and I want you to flip in this to the next page. You will see something that says timeline events. This paper is also going to have to be turned in. Now, let me talk to you about when the project is due. If I could have each of you look at the paper that says timeline events, and I want you to go ahead and draw a cloud around this right here. It says this paper is due September the 22nd, and that's going to be a Tuesday. So you've got about a week and a half before this paper is going to be due. And then you can see the other paper that we just had there, the questionnaire, is going to be due on the same exact day that your actual poster project is due. Let me talk to you about the integer questionnaire, and I'd like to talk to you about it using my example of what my timeline is. The first question it's going to ask you is, what event happened closest to your birthday? So this right here in the middle is when my birthday happened. There is something that happened right before it and something that happened right after it. Okay, the -1 says my parents moved to Germany, and the +9 says I broke my arm when roller skating. Which one of those is closer to my birthday, class? The 1 year before I was born in 1982, okay? So it was that very first one. Why? Because that was only 1 year before I was born. So what I would write there on my paper is, my parents moved to Germany. This needs to be a complete sentence, okay, on your questionnaire that you see right here, this purple paper as part of your packet. Let's go to the next question. What event happened furthest from my birthday? So for that one, once again, this is my birthday here. It's going to have to be either this event or this event. The -15 integer says my dad joined the military. The +14 says I transferred to a public school. Which one happened furthest away from my birthday?
The public school.
The -15 or the +14?
-14.
-15, because how many years ago was that? It was 15 years before, so it would be this one right here because that happened 15 years before. That means it's the furthest from my birthday. Next question, what's the distance between your first event on your timeline and your last event? Notice this happened 15 years before my birthday. This happened 14 years after my birthday. You're trying to figure out the distance. Do you guys remember talking about distance before? Okay, you're going to take the absolute largest number and subtract the smallest number. Let's see if we can figure this out, okay? How many years is it from here to my birthday?
15.
That's 15 years. How many years is it from my birthday to over here when I went to a public school? 14. So guys, what is the distance from here to there? Excellent. 29 years is the correct answer because 15 plus 14 is 29. Very good. Last question. What is the distance between your first event? The first event is this one right here, and your birthday. The first event says negative 15. My birthday is 0. How many years is that, or what's the distance there, class? 15 years. Very good. Okay, so that's how the integer questionnaire is going to work. Obviously, your events will be different than mine. If you turn in your project early, the week that it's due, you will receive 1 bonus point per day that it's turned in before your due date. Okay, so you can get up to 4 bonus points for this. Once again, you can turn it in the week that it's due early. You can't turn it in this Monday and get like a free project grade, okay? Now remember, this is a test grade. So any bonus points you can get, that's awesome, okay? We've only had 2 tests total, which is 50% of your grade. So if you can earn a 104 on a project, that would be what I would suggest doing, especially because you're gonna have to do the project no matter what. You might as well just turn it in early. I don't want you to question or wonder how you're going to be graded. So if I could have you guys look at the paper right here that says integer questionnaire, and at the bottom half it says scoring rubric. On this scoring rubric, it's letting you know exactly what it is that I am going to be looking for as I grade your project. This first part, let's look at it up here. Display 7 events on the poster timeline. Okay, so remember we've got our birthday here in the middle, and then there are 3 before and 3 after. So those are going to be the 7 events that you're displaying. For each of them, you have to have a name of the event that happened. So right here, the name is my dad joined the military. Next, it says you have to have an integer representing that. This is my integer. What was my integer for when he joined the military? Negative 15. Okay, so that's what that would be. Next up, you have to have a picture. For me, I drew the picture here, and you can see it's of a group of military people. You could also actually print off a picture if you have a real picture of something like that. Like for when you were born, you could put a picture of you as a baby on there. Next, you need to have the year that the event occurred, all right? This occurred in 1968, so make sure you've got that. Each section, so this right here alone is worth 9 points, and I'm going to be looking at that because there are 7. There's going to be a total of 63 points on that section. The next thing I want you to look at is neatness and creativity. Each of your events have to be typed, okay? 10 points is going to be counting toward are they typed and spelled correctly. Now, if you think about it, it's only 7 sentences that you're doing, so it is not that much. Please don't do it in tiny little 12-point font. Make it bigger, make it a fun font, okay? Be creative with this project. Make sure you evenly cut your pictures, cut borders behind the pictures, put little backgrounds in there. Make sure that the integer timeline is clear and easy to read. And use creativity, okay? 10 points is for creativity. If you turn in a very boring project with nothing creative on it, you're automatically going to lose 10 points out of this 100-point project. Then also, the final thing you can see, the questionnaire is worth 7 points. And be reminded, this is a test grade. I want you to look at this and help me to understand what is wrong with this project. Very true. There's not a whole lot of creativity happening on this project, okay? It's not a colorful poster. It's very boring, okay? What else? All right, you're right. There's not even a name on there. I have no idea. You need to have some kind of a title that says Miss Forpaul's Timeline or something. Obviously, don't say Miss Forpaul, but with your name, okay? You can see 1, 2, 3 pictures have been submitted. How many pictures do they need to have? 7, okay? There's nothing creative. If you look very closely, birthday is actually spelled Bert Day, all right? So things have to be spelled correctly. Notice this is not typed. It has to be typed, okay? So there's a lot of things that are wrong with this project. So as you can see, that one was not very creative at all. Here's some ideas for creativity, okay? Use stickers for your title. Notice here, this is a project from last year. She had stickers. These are like little pop-out stickers, and it just makes her timeline title very cute. Colorful paper. If you notice here, they didn't just put white paper on there. They used colorful paper. You can't see it very well, but there are decorative scissors around each of these to where it's kind of cut like this. So it looks cute and decorative. Also, they have an idea you could put a border behind your picture, okay? There is no glitter allowed. Here's why. Glitter goes everywhere once it comes in. And you can see here, actual pictures of them were put in. When her dad was in the military, you can find this. When her mom graduated college, there it is, okay? When she got a huge boulder on her forehead in elementary school, she put a picture of that. So each of these are ways that you can be creative. So just be reminded, this project is due on October the 2nd. I would like each of you to look at the timeline event paper. If you look right here at number 4, what it says is to write your birthday, okay? So it's asking you to include the month, day, and year. Okay, on your timeline event paper, I want you to write in pencil right now your month, your day, and the year you were born, okay? And do you guys remember, it says underneath it, corresponding integer. What integer goes with your birthday? 0. So I would like you guys to go ahead at this time and put that there on the paper. The corresponding integer is a 0. Now, as I said before, this paper is going to be due in a week and a half on Tuesday, September the 22nd. So before you ever start your project, I want you to turn in this paper to me so that I can check it to make sure your corresponding integers make sense and that it is going in order. So what we're going to do for the remainder of class today is I want you to pull out a piece of paper if you would, and at the top write timeline ideas. All we're doing today in class is just brainstorming ideas. I want you to think of a couple things. First off, some things that happened before you're born. You might say, I can't think of anything interesting about my family. Then I want you to go home and ask your parents. Say, Mom, Dad, somebody, can you help me know some interesting facts about our family that happened before I was born? You should know some things that are events that happened after your birth because you were actually alive for those. So right now for the remainder of class, I want you guys just to take a few minutes and try to brainstorm ideas that you could put on your timeline. Remember, once again, it is due October the 2nd.